Hello, everyone. It's Pastor Judy again. Today is Wednesday, March 13th. I'm going to bring you today's message and devotion. This first reading comes from Psalms. I'm going to read the same thing, but I'm going to read it twice. It comes from Psalms 107, verses 17 through 20. And this particular one is the New Revised Standard Version. Hear these words. Some of the redeemed were fools because of their sinful ways. They suffered because of their wickedness. They had absolutely no appetite for food, and they had arrived at death's gates. So they cried out to the Lord in their distress, and God saved them from their desperate circumstances. God gave the order and healed them. He rescued them from their pit. Now I'm going to read this again, and I'm going to read it from my English Standard Version Bible. It's a very pretty Bible. I like this one. It also has a print in it that I can read easily. Psalms is in about the middle of the book of the Bible. Psalms is in the Old Testament. Psalms is a collection of poems and songs from Israel, of the Israel people. So that is why it's called Psalms, Phalm. I'm reading again from chapter 107. I'm reading verses 17 through 20. Hear these words and hear how they're a little different. Some were fools through their sinful ways, and because of their iniquities suffered affliction. They loathed any kind of food, and they drew near to the gates of death. Then they cried out to the Lord in their trouble, and he delivered them from their distress. He sent out his word and healed them and delivered them from destruction. Now, the slight difference in both of the versions there. In the first one, we heard the word, some were sick through their sinful ways, and that's in the NRSV version. In the the English Standard Version, you hear the word fools. Now, certainly having no appetite for being near death, it reminds us more of a physical sickness, right? Than foolishness. But Hebrew word translated sick in the New Standard Reversion Bible, well, it actually means foolish ones. So it's why it's so important to understand that there are different translations and they come up with something different and what the differences are. Now, sometimes our foolish actions, they can cause physical consequences. You remember when maybe you were first got your driver's license and you started driving and you were so excited, and then you immediately get in a car accident because you're being foolish. You're not quite acting responsible, and therefore bad things can happen, right? So here in Psalms 107, it's paired with the Israelites grumbling that we read about yesterday in yesterday's devotion. And the people here are shaking their fist at God. They're mad at God for all their troubles, for not having food. And so if you didn't see yesterday's devotion, I encourage you to go back and see it. They were mad because they had resources in Egypt, but now they're out in the wilderness, and they're upset because they're like, well, we weren't, we might have been slaves back then, but we weren't hungry. We had food. So, grumbling can become a mental loop in our lives. We all know those people that just do nothing but grumble, and it can become a pattern and a habit that we get stuck in. It's in a loop. But I think the practice of gratitude, that's why gratitude can be so important. It can break that loop. So today, practicing moving from grumbling, if you find yourself in that place, to gratitude. So I'm going to say a little prayer. Today, I just pray that we can move away from our grumbling to praising God and being thankful for God. Move away from grumbling and move to gratitude. And I would invite all those hearing my words to write down 5 things that you are grateful for this week, and post those up somewhere where you can be reminded each and every day of the gratitude and the way that God has worked in our lives. These things I just pray that God will be in your life and he will lift you up out of grumbling into gratitude. These things I raise up in God's name. Amen. Have a good week.